So welcome everybody to the Unity workshop. Let me get back there. There we go. All right, welcome everybody to the Intro to Unity workshop with the Karting microgame provided by Unity Technologies. So what we're going to do today is going to be split into 4 sections. The first section is we're going to do a brief tour of Unity Learn, which is Unity's platform to kind of share all of their tutorials and such. And then we're going to go through some of the basics of Unity, and we're going to walk through Unity's Karting microgame, which is in the link provided here. Feel free at this section to follow along and kind of make your own karting microgame. And then the last section, I'm going to kind of go through how to deviate from the tutorial and kind of start to make your own project. If anybody has any questions at any point, feel free to stop me. I don't have the chat pulled up since I'm screen sharing, but just kind of like unmute yourself or flag down Sawhill or something, and we will address the question. And it's important to know that this session is recorded, at least the workshop part. So just be aware of that. And if we do any breakout rooms, those will not be recorded. So if we do breakout rooms, feel free to turn on your camera or something if you want. So yeah, let's get started. So part 1 is going to be Unity Learn. So Unity Learn, like I said, is for Unity to like solve their tutorials. So there's a couple tabs here that we will be looking at. And the important thing about this one is to just remember to sign in to Unity if you want to track your progress through any of these tutorials. Okay, so I'm at learn.unity.com. I'm not logged in, as you can see here, but this is Unity Learn. And so the nice thing about this website is that they have these sections that are really easy to navigate. So you can scroll down and you check off how familiar you are with Unity. So if you're new to Unity, these are some nice projects you can follow. As you can see, here's the karting game that we will be doing today. So Unity Learn has these couple tabs. So the first tab, the projects tab, you can see these these projects that you can actually complete following the tutorial. So the first-person shooter microgame, the platform microgame, and the karting microgame are of the same family. Rollerball, if any of you have done Unity before, this might be familiar to you. And then these are some more open projects that you can try out. As for courses, if this page loads, courses are kind of similar. So courses give you the entire family of the project. So this is the getting started section with all these three projects. And then this is creating with code, which is you can do something with Code Live. Beginning 2D game development, it shows you specifically like the steps to take to make a 2D game, etc. And these are the tutorials. Tutorials are individual videos that are slightly more like niche. So if there's anything you need particular help on, so like learning how to use the Unity interface or how to actually walk through the 2D game kit, you can find videos and tutorials in the tutorials tab. So these are the 3 main places that you can look at for if there's anything you're interested, just kind of type in like what you're interested in. So if you look for XR, you can find all of these information on getting started with VR, VR development, VR Essentials Pack, VR user interface, etc. So it's really nice, pretty easy to use, and yeah, you can just kind of find what you're interested in. Cool. Yeah, so is there any questions so far about like what that website offers, or the link is right there? Everybody okay? Okay, cool. All right, so moving on to the next section, we're going to talk about some of the basics of Unity. So Unity is obviously a game engine, and if you've worked with any game engine before, some things might be familiar, but I'm going to go through some basic vocab. And then we're going to keep seeing these words over and over again, so don't worry if you don't get everything like during this section. So Unity basics, scene versus game view. So when you open Unity, there's going to be a big screen in the middle that has, well, what you're going to see is probably blank or has a tutorial on it, but this is what you work with, basically, a visual representation of what you work with. So game view is what you as a player would see through, say, a camera in your scene. Scene view is where you can move around game objects in a 3D environment. So you see all these buildings and characters and wagons. These are all things as known as game objects, and you can move them around. If you see these little colored arrows, you can actually move them in any direction you want. You can pan around and kind of look around the scene too, and just, it's a very big overview of things. So you can move, rotate, and scale game objects. And this basically helps you plan and preview what you want your players to see in the game view. So in game view, you can actually play and test out the application without having to build it. So you just hit play, and then you can play as if you were just playing the game. You can preview your different resolutions and view performance statistics. So here it has, I know it's kind of small, but it has audio and graphics stats. So that's pretty cool. We will be using this a bit, mostly the scene view, but through the tutorial you get to see kind of what both are like. The next section is hierarchy and project. So basically, you're going to have a section on your screen called the project view, and the project view will show all of your files that's associated with your project. So this little tab here. So you see here is the assets folder. The assets folder is really important because it contains everything that you want to put in your project. So your scripts, your materials, your textures, and any game objects you might have. So this allows you to create, delete, and organize your assets. Organization is very important, obviously, because you want to keep everything to be easy to find, because you can imagine as if you're building any game, there's going to be a lot of assets that you're going to need. So it's about the same navigation as an OS file explorer. You just have a lot of folders within folders. And your hierarchy. So your hierarchy is going to be usually to the side of your scene view. It shows all the game objects that's currently in your scene. So if you go back here, you see all these wagons and buildings, and I think those are horses or llamas or something. So those would all show up as game objects in your hierarchy. So basically, the important part of this is it creates a hierarchy with game objects within your scene. So you can have parent game objects and children game objects. So essentially what these are is you get to organize things by group. So say you have like 5 buildings that you want to group together. Then you can make a parent game object called like buildings, and then put each individual building game object in there, so you can treat them all as one object together. So it's like grouping. So you kind of see like the hierarchy here, where managers is the parent game object, and then there's everything underneath it, and they can be nested as much as you want. So this lets you easily create, select, delete, and duplicate game objects, because you could just copy paste and manipulate things as you want there. And inspector and components. So your inspector displays properties or components of currently selected game objects or assets. So if you go back, if I want to click on this wagon, you can see in the hierarchy, you get the characteristics of this wagon. So here we have the main camera selected, so I'm just going to use that as an example. So the key parts in the inspector that you can look at is the name here, whether or not it's static, which means whether or not it's moving in your scene, whether or not it's enabled, so you can enable or disable it in your scene to kind of like display it or hide it. The tag is useful for any scripts you want. So say you have a certain game object that you want to, if it hits a certain tag, you want it to perform a certain action. So you can group things also by tag. And then the next part of the inspector tab is everything below it, the components. So components define specific properties and behaviors of your game object. So some more important examples that you'll see often is like the transform tab. So the transform component has 3 values here, well, 9 values, but 3 sections here. So the position is where it is in the scene, the X, Y, Z coordinates. Rotation is how much it's rotated, and scale, you can change the size with the transform component. A rigid body is also very important, especially for a 3D game, because what a rigid body does is basically it allows physics to be applied to your game object. So if you have a ball that you want to throw, you make a rigid body component for it, and now it can be subjected to gravity. Unity is really nice in that it has really great physics simulators, basically, and so you don't have to do any of the calculations yourself. You can just enable gravity, and gravity will be applied to your game object. And the third thing that's super important is scripts. It's not really here, but if you add component, you can create a script. So in Unity, we use C# to write these scripts, which will affect how the game objects behave. So say you have a game object that if you hit a barrier, it disappears, right? So you can use a script to see, like, if a certain tag is hit by a certain game object, disable that game object. And so the script would allow this feature to actually happen. And then you can modify these components in the inspector by adding or removing a component, editing its properties, so you can change any of these numbers, or you can reset its changes to default values. And then last but not least, we have the game objects that I've been referring to a lot. So they're essentially containers for components, right? They don't have their own innate functionality. They just kind of sit there and look nice and pretty, like this little scarecrow guy here. So these are the actual objects that you will be manipulating in your scene. So like any literal object you have, it will be in here. So some key identifiers are the name, tag, layer, which you can see back here in the inspector tab, name, tag, layer. And if you set active, it shows up. If you set inactive, it disappears. And if it's stationary, you can mark it as static. So that was the second part of the just basics of Unity. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat, because you're seeing my whole screen. I don't have the chat pulled up, so Sahil will probably answer better than I can. So I'm gonna walk through a bit of like some basic stuff about the doing tutorials, and then I will actually do a live demo with Unity, and we'll go through the tutorial together. So getting started, this is the part that if you want to follow along, feel free to pull up Unity Hub and follow along. Stop me at any time if I'm going too fast. And we'll probably have some breakout room sessions where at periodic points where we can help you get caught up. So if everybody wants to open Unity Hub, I will also do so as soon as I finish going through this. All right, so the first couple steps is you open Unity Hub and navigate to the Learn tab on the left. So I have Unity Hub here. If you can still see my screen, there's the Learn tab here. So what you want to do is you want to click on Karting Microgame, and you want to click Download Project. And when it's done loading, click Open Project. And this will open the tutorial in a Unity project. And then you can click Get Started when the thing shows up. Since I already have this tutorial, I will just open the tutorial. This might take a while. This step usually takes a while. All right, well, this is taking extra slow for me right now. So if you're not able to open the tutorial through this method, through opening the Learn tab, there's actually another way you can do this. So if you just open up a new project in Unity, you can also import the asset, which I will cover at the end of this workshop. And then you can look for the asset inside your project view, and then click on tutorials and click share tutorials, and that should pull up the same thing. Yeah, one thing you'll notice about Unity is it can be a little bit slow. Oh, there we go. Great. Here I have the tutorial pulled up. So this is Unity, and
before we get started, just wanted to make sure if everyone has the tutorial pulled up at this time.
So before I start this tutorial, I'm actually going to just show you around Unity. So like I said, here is the scene view. This is where I can kind of look around, and these are all game objects that I can manipulate. Let's see if I use this tool. I can go around my scene. This isn't necessarily what the player would see when they play. That's in game view, but like these are all game objects that I can look at. And then, and the way I can go to game view is by going to this tab over here, right next to scene. And this is what the actual player of the game is going to see. So scene tab, where you can kind of go anywhere you want, and then game, which is based on where your camera is. And then the next thing, what was it? Well, here's the project tab. This is down here. You can see all of my assets are here in nicely organized folders. So everything we're going to need from the karting tutorial will be in the karting folder. And so you can open the tutorial from here. And these are everything that this game will rely on. So if you want to look, these are a lot of assets that you can potentially be using. We only use a couple during this basic tutorial, but the nice thing about this one is you can actually mod it really easily to be able to do like things like self-driving carts or designing your own levels, etc. So it's pretty fun. So that's the project tab, and here is the hierarchy with all of our things here. So when I click on, let's see, the example was main camera. You can actually see how the inspector changes when I click on different game objects. So here is the actual main camera. I don't really know how to make this any bigger, but you can kind of see how these are segmented into components. So you can see the camera component, the transform, that's where the camera is. You can see like processing things and camera things. And you can see if I click on Kart Classic Player, you can see that it has a rigid body, so physics will apply on it. So gravity is on. It has a mass of 15, which you can change. And it has a script. It has multiple scripts applied, actually. So down here, everything with parentheses script, these are all scripts. And the cool thing about Unity is when you make a script, if you have public variables, if you know what that is, if you have any public variables, you can actually modify the variable within Unity. So these, all of these are public variables that you can change, and that will modify the script for you, which is super nice. If you like, say I want the cart to go faster, you can just be like, okay, let's just change the variable of the speed, and it will go faster. So does anybody need more time, or should I continue? Well, in that case, I can also show you the asset store. So the asset store is also a tab here available. If you can't find the asset store, you can also go to Window and hit Asset Store, or you can do Control 9 and the asset store should pop up. I'm already logged in on this asset store because I have been doing projects here. But basically, you can look at all the assets that are available to download. A lot of these cost money, so you should, be careful. But there's a lot of free assets, including all of the templates, like the microkarting template. So if you go to top free assets, you can find a lot of things here. So let's see what they have. So there's the free platform game assets, there's the Unity 3D kit, there's characters and rocks and boulders, there's Fantasy Forest. So really, whatever you want to look at, you can probably find something. But you can also find materials if you want to, which I'll show you in a bit what materials can do. So yeah, feel free to just go around on the Unity store to kind of look around. If you're logged in on Unity in the asset store, you can actually click on this little button here called My Assets, and then you can see everything that you've purchased or saved. Like I saved a couple of tutorials from before. There's the Oculus integration asset. So everything will be available in the asset store.
I have a quick question. I was able to import the game. Now it just says that there's an error with like assertion failed on. Like there was an issue with importing. Should I just close out of it and redo it again?
Usually that should be okay. There's a lot of errors on Unity that pops up.
Okay, I'll just.
Oh, go ahead.
Should I just clear it then?
Yeah, just clear it for now. If there's any issues, we can sort it out when we enter the breakout rooms.
Okay, got you.
Cool.
Thank you.
So does everybody have kind of this view? I believe this is the default view of Unity. I can't see because my little name tag is covering it. But if you ever want to change how the window looks, you can go to Window, Layouts, and then you can change your view to whatever you feel most comfortable with. So I can keep it here. This is fine for me, but just know that that's an option. So here we can go through the tutorial. So you see the tutorial tab is up on the right, and each of these will be a tutorial. So the first one is to playtest, and you just hit start, and you can enter play mode. So this is really important. This little button above your scene and game and asset store window, if that's how you view it, this little button is how you playtest your game. So if you hit that, and you let it load. Oh, the sound. I did not know that. And then you can play test this game. Right. All right. So how you stop game mode is by hitting the play button again. It's kind of a little unintuitive. So the way you start and stop your game is by hitting the play button. And the button next to it is pause, but you would still be in game mode. So you can just kind of mess with that once you're out of the tutorial. This is a very structured tutorial, so it'll make you like do things. So in this tutorial, it also shows you like I showed you the hierarchy. So you can just kind of click next, and then you can select game objects like it wants you to, and hit next. And you can check out all of the components that are associated with the Kart Classic player. So transform, its current position is here. Its starting position is here, I suppose. The rigid body, the mass is 15. There is drag on it. Gravity is enabled. There's discrete collision detection, which collision can be helpful for certain games. And then these three scripts are here. I see there's stuff in the chat. Okay. And yeah, so you can check out what's in the inspector window when this tutorial concludes. Here you can see there's a little section within Arcade Kart script called base stats. So you can actually click on that and you can modify all these public variables. So it says it's too slow. Let's make that, make top speed 20. So I can enter play mode again. So if you saw what I was doing earlier with playtesting, now, let's go. Now my cart is even faster and I am a horrible driver. So yeah, and then I exit play mode by clicking start, and then I hit I can hit the second tutorial, but I'm gonna hit done so I can like show you guys stuff. So yeah, this is how you kind of go through the tutorials. So here, remember how I edited the script base stats right here? And you see how I edited, so now top speed is 20. One important thing to note is that you can edit these actually when you're in game mode. So when you're playing, you can edit this and it will affect how you view your game. However, when you exit play mode, that change will not save. So if you want a change to save, like I wanted the top speed to actually stay at 20, you have to make sure that you're not in game mode. There's been a lot of times when somebody's working on a project and they don't realize they're editing in game mode. So when they leave it, all of their changes are gone. So just kind of be mindful of what mode you're in as you're creating your projects. So that was a playtest. Let's see, let's do editor UI. And then if anything asks if you want to save it, just be safe and save it. It's a good policy to have. So the editor UI will also show you more about the editor. So here's your hierarchy and your scene. So I can skip through that. You can pan the scene with your hand tool. So you get the hand tool in this upper left-hand corner, you get a little hand. If you hover over it, it says hand tool. So this will allow you to move around your scene on a certain axis. So you just pan everywhere, right? And then you can orbit by holding down Alt, and then you see how the hand turned into a little eyeball. Then you can look around like that. So that is orbit. So again, you can be on hand tool and just click and drag, or you can hold down Alt and you can look around. Next is zoom. It's just zooming in and out. It's easier if you have a mouse, but I don't have a mouse here, so I'm just gonna scroll like that. And then this is your project window with all your assets. If that was too fast, feel free to just go through the tutorial at your own pace. Like I said, a lot of these words just repeat over and over. So if there's anything that you're confused about, you can also go through here and kind of look at what it is. It'll tell you in slightly more detail than what I just told you. Does anybody have any questions so far about loading Unity, loading the tutorials, where anything is, or stuff like that?
I had a quick question. So you said to press Alt to rotate, right? Do you know which key to press on a Mac?
Let me see. I know there's another option. Pan around. Okay. Here it says you can do the Alt or Option key. Do you have an Option button on Mac?
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Cool. And I'll just speed click through that again. Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, so let's continue in the tutorial. So the next section is editing colors. So this is how you personalize your game and begin to change it to what you want it to be. So the first thing is obviously to hit the Kart Classic player, which is your player. So a nice thing you can do in scene view is you kind of notice how there's a lot of game objects, but they're really far away and sometimes you can't really see detail. So what you can do is you can select the game object in your hierarchy, hover your mouse over your scene view and hit F, and this will actually zoom you in on the actual object you're looking at. So I want to orbit around with my nice little orbit tool, and this is my Kart Classic player. Very nice. So I can select kart body, which is a material. It says select the material kart body. So it's probably in karting, but there's a lot of stuff here and I don't necessarily know where that is, but that's okay because I know what it's called, so I can use a nice little search function. Let's see, there it is, kart body. So it says a red sphere here. If anybody has any issues finding that, just go to the search bar and type in cart body and you should find it. So I click that. And I notice a lot of things, right? So cart body is a material. A material is something you can apply like a texture or color to game objects. So cart body right now is red. And so you can kind of see what it looks like here. It's a little bit shiny. You can see it in the light and in the dark. And there's a lot of like extra settings that you can change if you want. But right now we are just going to change the color. So what we're going to do is we see this little red box here. We're going to click on that, and then we're going to choose a nice color for our cart. So I like light green, so let's set it to light green. So obviously you can change it to any color on the color wheel, up to you completely. And once you're done, you hit the little X, and you see how in the inspector that has now changed to nice green. And it has also changed the cart body here because the cart body had this material applied. So this cart classic player now has a different colored cart. Does that sort of make sense to everybody? Is anybody having trouble? Okay, hearing none, I'm gonna keep going then. So I can enter play mode if this goes, there we go. I can enter play mode. And now my character has a green cart and he's going at 20 instead of 10, which is super exciting. All right, so this is how you change colors with your game. So exit that. Okay. So is everybody good? Is everybody still following? Nothing too crazy? Take that as a yes. Okay. So the next tutorial is how to add a jump. All right. So the important part about this tutorial is the prefab concept. So prefab is a game object that has components and properties. So game object contains these components and properties. So prefab is stored within your assets. So essentially, if you have, say, a tree that you really like, a game object tree that you created and you're so proud of it, and you want multiples of those, you could just copy and paste in your hierarchy and make a lot of trees. But say you wanted to apply an animation script that makes the tree sway a certain way, right? Then you'd have to go through the hierarchy and apply the script by clicking on every single game object, going to add component, and adding that to your game object. And that gets really tedious really fast. So what a prefab can do is you can put it in your assets and you can apply everything you want to it, and then you can copy it. You can make multiples of it in your hierarchy. And the interesting thing is, if you keep it as a prefab and you don't unpack it, as it says, if you don't unpack a prefab, anything you change in the prefab will also apply to any of the objects in your hierarchy. So if I wanted to make a tree here and apply the animation script, and then I make multiples of these trees here, if I notice like, oh wait, the tree animation is actually a little bit off, let me change something, that change will apply to everything in your game object without you having to go in and change everything individually. So the prefab is a really important concept for making any game with repetitive game objects. So let me hit start. So drag a prefab to the scene. So it wants to find the jump ramp prefab from the project window. So I think I actually saw the prefab. Yes, so here's the prefabs folder in assets, karting, prefabs. So you hit prefabs, and then you can look at all of these different prefab options. So I think it says, is it in props? It is in props. Okay, so it's in assets, karting, prefabs, props, and you see there's multiple prefabs here. So there's a checkpoint, which is these little rings you have here, crash object. So I guess you can add bowling pins for your car to crash into. Lap check, physics ball, a start finish banner, a stunt jump, and what we were looking for, the jump ramp. So you just click and you drag that anywhere in your scene, you drop it, and look, it appeared in your hierarchy. So here, right next to the hand tool, the tutorial wants you to click the move tool. So having the move tool selected, you notice that these arrows appear on your ramp, right? So right now in your hierarchy, you have your ramp highlighted, so you have it selected. You have the jump ramp components in the inspector here. And now using the move tool, you can actually just drag your ramp wherever you want in whatever direction you want, which is super nice. Let me make sure this ramp is actually on the floor. Otherwise, that might be an issue. Okay, so I like that ramp there, sure. So I've repositioned the jump ramp. And I will hit next. This also walks you through rotate and scale. So right next to the move tool, there's the rotate tool. We still have the jump ramp selected, so it will rotate this jump ramp as you desire. So you can go like forwards, backwards, etc. And then scale tool is kind of similar to the move tool in how it works, but you see these are blocks instead of arrows. So if I wanted to make it longer, I could drag out this arrow, and that's a long ramp. Or I could make it shorter or wider or anything like that. So these are also able to be edited in your transform tool. So say I want to move it. If I hit the move tool and I drag this, you'll notice that my Y and Z position actually change because it's at an angle. Let me actually change that angle back to 0. Okay, so now that that's back to 0, you see when I drag this forwards and backwards, my Z actually changes. So you can move it here so it's more visually pleasing, or if you know where you want it, you can just change the numbers itself. So my scale, I scaled it a bit, so just change that to 1. All right, excellent. So that's the original size. Has everybody like followed along? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. So here it wants you to test your jump. So if you want to go into game mode, jump off your ramp, go for it. And next, and you completed this tutorial. So the next section is actually teaching you about how you can build this game and share this game. I can kind of show you, but it's not necessarily something that we're going to be doing right now because this game is actually has modding tutorials available. So we can take a look at that. But first, let me come back here. Okay. Let me stop sharing and come back. Okay, I see Saha has some technical difficulties. Does anybody have any questions about anything I've covered so far?
You said that if we make changes in game mode, it won't be saved to the actual game. So then for game mode, I was just wondering, where do you I would have to switch from the tabs up on the top. It says like scene, game, and asset store. So then
oh, sorry, I should probably have specified. So scene view and game view are the two tabs that you see at the top. So those, like I said, scene view is you can look anywhere in your world, and game view is what your player would actually see. So game mode is a little bit different. Game mode is, say you have a game and you are like, you want to test a part of it, right? You can hit the play button, that'll enter game mode.
Okay.
And then so that will be what your players would see, but you can also like do what your players would do. So if it's controlled by WASD, you can play as your user would do.
Mm-hmm.
And so anything in that mode, the changes will not be saved. But you can make changes if you're in the game view. You're not looking at your scene, you're looking at your game view, and if you make changes, that will still save. You just have to make sure that the little play button at the top, that you're in game mode or editing mode, and make sure you're in editing mode.
Got you. Thank you.
Good question. Is there anything else that you'd like me to address? So I'm going to go through the rest of the part 4 of the workshop, and then I'm going to go back and try to do some offhanded modding to this game. I haven't tried that yet, so we'll see how that goes. Let's see. Oh, Cindy asked, how do we start the tutorial? So great question. Let me actually go back to my slides and I can, yes, I will share the slide that has that on there. So Cindy asked how to start. So accessing the tutorial. So if you didn't open it through the Learn tab, you can go to the project view, which is the bottom area with all the assets. Go to Assets, Karting, Tutorials, and click on Tutorials. In the inspector, you'll see a button. So the tutorial looks like this. You'll see a button that says Show Tutorials, and you can click that, and then the tutorials should pop up on the side. Does that kind of answer your question? Were you able to find it? Okay, awesome. Yeah, so let me start off, go through this. Okay, let me share my screen again. All right, starting your own project. So we saw how to open a tutorial, whether from the Unity Hub Learn tab or from installing the tutorial yourself. So what if you want to start your own project? What if you don't want a tutorial to go with it, right? So if you want to start your own project, what you would do is you open up Unity tab and you hit the new button. So there's a blue button on the corner, upper corner on the right that says new. So you hit the new button. So there's going to be a pop-up with three areas that you can modify. So the first area is obviously you got to name your project. The second part is you choose a template. So in previous years, Unity updates a lot really quickly. So in previous years, we've been mainly using 3D, but Unity has been progressing slowly away from 3D. So now we are recommending URP as your project template. If you want any more information about what these templates are and what's good and what's not so good about them, you can go to the Unity documentation here. I provided the link below if you want to go through the slides later on, or if you just want to like pull that up really quickly. You can type in Unity documentation project templates, and this should be the first link. And then last but not least, save the project in the correct folder that you want it saved in, because I have lost projects for some reason. Usually Unity Hub is pretty good about picking up like all the projects on your computer and displaying them on the hub. So you saw here, I have all these projects on my computer. But sometimes, for some inexplicable reason, Unity might lose a project or two, and just make sure you know where your projects are. It saves a lot of pain. And then last but not least, you hit create and you create your project. So importing assets, I kind of talked about this already, but you can navigate to the Windows tab at the top of your page, and hit Asset Store, or hit Control-9. You log into Unity account, and you go to the Asset Store, and you can go to My Assets if you've saved any assets you like, or you can just use the search function. And then this process is a little bit long, which is why I didn't do it in the first time we went through this tutorial. But to import assets, you're going to have to click import a lot. So like it might pop up like 3 or 4 times. If it asks you to update anything, just install/upgrade, and then you hit import one last time, and then you finally have your assets after it's finished loading. So yeah, I think that's it for the official workshop. Does anybody have any questions about Unity in general or anything like that?
No, thank you for showing us this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, so if there's no questions, in that case, I will attempt things. So let me, oh, I am not sharing my screen, am I? Okay, I will share screen and just, oh, I am sharing, okay, excellent. So I'm back in my tutorial. I'm done with all of the tutorials. I've already done this, so it's built and shared, but you guys can go do that on your own time. Building is basically exporting the game into a playable format. So you can like click on the file and you immediately enter play mode and you can just play. You don't have to open Unity. It's just a game on your. It's not just a game on your computer. And so actually, let me show you all the different ways you can build. So if you go to your file up here, there's new scene, open scene, etc. And then there's build settings. So you want to click build settings. And then you can see all these different options that you can build with. So in this tutorial, they want you to build with WebGL. But if you click on all these other ones, you see you can build with Android, and PS4, etc. You have to make sure that you have that particular module installed. So if you recall, if you're here with Workshop 0 and we installed Unity, there's a lot of different modules you could install. So if you want to develop for Xbox One, go download the Xbox One module and stuff like that. So PC Mac standalone, that is an option. And then you can do build, or you can do build and run, which will open your application after you're done building it. Build is usually when you catch all the bugs. So if you have any bugs, it'll refuse to build, and it's a little bit frustrating, but you just gotta kind of stick with it and figure it out. All right, so let's see what this brings us to. All right, so what I just did was I hit in the karting tutorial, which I still have open, I hit modded tutorials, and it popped up this website, the Karting Microgame official template. So I included the link in my original slides. So this is on Unity Learn, and this is if you click in the Karting Microgame course, this is what you see. So here are all of the different mods that you can do or that people have done. So you can add a ghost driver, you can add bouncy sparkles everywhere, you can have a timer, and you can beat the game with, you can race against the clock here. And you can have upgraded smart cards, which is pretty cool. So let's see, what's a good one? I'm gonna try the Crash Course game mod. So what this section is going to be is just me winging it. I've never done this mod before, so we're gonna see what happens. If you notice, I am in the mod itself, so I'm in course, project, karting, microgame, this particular tutorial. So this is what a normal Unity tutorial would look like. You can see all of your information. It says, it can show you the creators, the topics to cover, so editor essentials and design, the industry, the version of Unity that you're using. So that's the only option, but it still works on most versions of Unity carry over to each other unless it's like super old or super new. So let's see, any details? Nope, not really. Cool, and then like a little table of contents here, and sign in to track your progress. I'm not gonna sign in, that takes a little bit, so it's okay. So let's see, in the first part, it says open your karting microgame. In the project Windows search bar, type in this. So basically, we are apparently looking for ML agents. So let's see if I can find that. Okay. ML agents. Yes. Okay, I have found that. So, so you have a folder. You can begin at step 2. Excellent. We love to hear that. So we found the folder, ML agents. So what is an ML agents? There's the editor, some plugins, resources. That's interesting. Nothing that looks interesting. Okay. There's a lot of scripts in ML agent. Sure. Let's look at one of these scripts. That might be fun. Let's look at.
So just to interject here, actually, all of the tutorials there for this Karting games tutorial ask you to check for ML agents, not necessarily because all of them require it, but just because it's the newest version has ML agents. ML agents is just their new machine learning framework.
Yes, thank you, Sahil. So yeah, like I said previously, the project tab contains all of these assets that you may end up using. So these are for this particular tutorial. You might not always find it. Like if you have your own project, you're probably not going to find this. So I have Visual Studio. I have to sign in on here. So I'm going to move that out of the way and just kind of look at it. It's a pretty short line of code here. So this is what a script might look like in Unity. If everybody can still see my screen. So this is a C#. You're using System, Unity Engine, and Unity Engine Scene Management. This one doesn't actually have your typical function. So usually you'd have a start, an update, and maybe a fixed update. But this one, obviously I didn't write it. So let's see, there's a switch scene, there's an awake. And so you can have these variables here, and it tells you if you don't have a variable selected or something like that. So that's actually a pretty short script. Let me see if there's anything better I can find that won't make Visual Studio mad at me. Utilities timer maybe? Ooh, not that one. Okay, so regardless, if you click on any script assets in your project, that will usually pull it up in the inspector, and then you can hit open to open it in whatever code editor you want to use. And yeah, you make sure you save it on that code editor, and then it'll update here in Unity after a couple of seconds, and then you can see how it works. Okay, let me see. Back to the actual tutorial. So it wants me to add bowling pins to crash into. So in the project view, there's prefabs, game modes, crash object. Oh yeah, we were back there. Cool. So we can go find a bowling pin and we can drag it in. Karting, prefabs. All right. Game mode. Probably not that one. Props. Crash object. Found it. And then you can just click and drag. And now I have a teeny tiny bowling pin. If I hit F, I can now zoom in on it and look at this little bowling pin. And I should not have zoomed out. And then drag the prefab into your scene view. So you added the object to your scene. You can add several more. You can actually go to the hierarchy. So if I click that, I can find the hierarchy, and then I can just right click, duplicate, and now I have 2 of them. Hooray! So this kind of goes through how to make several bowling pins, and then add the crash game mode. So this will change the game mode and make it your own mod. I'm noticing the time. We have about 15 minutes left in the official workshop time. So I don't know if I'm gonna get in through all of this, but yeah. So I added some bowling pins. and I can add a script or two if I wish to like have the bowling pins disappear after you hit them. But let me see. I did build and share, and let me stop sharing. Okay, yeah. Is there anything else that people would like to cover? Like any questions or let's see. Oh, I see Cindy has something in the chat. Check for ML agents. When you do 3D and then imported. Uh, yeah, you can do 3D templates when you start projects right now. It's just that it's good to keep in mind that Unity is slowly, very slowly, but still slowly phasing it out and replacing it with URP. So that's just something to keep in mind. And yeah, so the ML agents is actually part of the mods that come with the Karting microgame. So this microgame comes with a lot of different mods, as you saw on the Unity Learn website. So that has all of the assets that you might need for any of those mods that you want to do. So if you want to implement the explosions, or if you want to implement like jumps and timers, all of those will be already in the folder, so you don't have to download anything extra. So that was like, if you wanted to follow that particular mod, you can use that. Let's see. And is there anything else you guys are interested in learning, perhaps? Anything about Unity that I can go over? Any vocab that was confusing? Seeing none. Okay, let me do one final thing before we officially wrap up here. Let me share my screen again. Okay, just that. Go back here. Any questions? All right. So thank you all so much for coming to this workshop. I hope it was informative or at least somewhat enjoyable. And if you have time, please come to our social VR chill session this Friday from 6 to 6:30. This will be on the platform called AltSpace VR, which is a really cool platform that you can enter both from your laptop or from a VR headset. So this is just a place for people to chill and kind of play games together and have fun. Like I said, headset not required. If you want information on any of our events, such as our chill sessions or workshops, feel free to look on our Discord server for periodic updates, and or join our Facebook group. Either way, you can get your updates, but you can ask questions in Discord. It's a little bit more direct, so that might be a better option. But yeah, join us for our social VR chill session on Friday.